This is without a doubt the number one mistake that everyone makes when they start using Salesforce for recruiting. Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Salesforce for Recruiters. My name is Brad Owens, and I was just like you. I was a recruiter for well over a decade using various pieces of technology that never really fit what I wish they could do for my business. And then I saw Salesforce, and I went, where has this been all my life? And since then, I've dedicated my career to helping the industry understand how Salesforce can actually be used for our use case. On today's episode, I want to cover off on the number one mistake I see recruiters and recruiting firms getting into every single time they start using Salesforce for their recruiting organization. So let's start from the back and work our way up. The fifth biggest mistake that I see individuals getting into when they start using Salesforce as a recruiting platform is they try and represent new relationships by creating a new object. So let me go into depth on this one so that you can understand a bit more about this. Let's talk about people. So typically what ends up happening is we get people who come to us and say, all right, so I have a person. They can be a client at some point in their journey, and they could be a candidate at some point in their journey. And maybe they're not even either of those. Maybe they're just a contact at some point. So what we typically see when we go into someone's Salesforce org is they've created different objects for all of these different people. They say, all right, anyone who's a client is going to be created as a record of this object. Anyone who's a candidate is going to be created as a record of this object. And that ends up getting into a host of different problems because you can see maybe you'll have a duplicate record. You'll have the same person that could be both a client and a candidate. Instead, what you should be doing is you should set up a relationship to show at a point in time what that individual could be to your business. So for instance, if a single person, Brad, is a candidate, what would make them a candidate? Well, they're typically a candidate when they are being considered for a potential job. So you use a junction object to show that this person, when they're associated to this job, they become a job board applicant or a job applicant or whatever you want to set up. And because they are then associated with that job, the relationship says that this individual contact should now be a candidate. At some point down the road, if this person is assigned as a hiring manager to this job, then they can actually end up being a client. So you're using the relationship to structure what this contact is, not creating a new object. That is a huge trap that people fall into. Fourth biggest mistake that I've seen recruiters get into when they start using Salesforce for their business is they don't take advantage of the automated activity capture. So Salesforce has something called Einstein Activity Capture that they allow you to sync with either Microsoft 365 or Google, and it allows you to track your emails to people that are contacts inside of your database. So think about all that can make possible for you. You could start reporting on who's the most active, what emails have my recruiters been sending, what replies have we been getting, what have they been saying. You can start to take advantage of all of the AI that you could have as a part of all of that data in your system. And most recruiting firms don't take advantage of it. What they expect the recruiters to do is send out an email, come in, log an activity that they send an email. You don't have to do that. There's automated activity capture built inside of Salesforce, and it unlocks a host of other features when you take advantage of it. So if you haven't looked at Einstein Activity Capture, you should be using that inside your Salesforce environment. The number three biggest mistake that I see Salesforce users make when they're trying to start using their system for recruiting is they don't take advantage of validation rules. Now, a validation rule is something that makes sure that a certain thing is completed in your system before you're allowed to do something else. So it could be something like make sure that we have a job description saved whenever we're creating a new job, or we're not allowed to move this candidate to the next stage until they have this certain field filled out in their record. So for instance, if you wanted to make sure that you can't have a candidate submitted for a job until you have an accurate representation of their current and expected salary, you can do that. If you wanted to make sure that you can't take a job from a lead to an actual opportunity until there is a signed contract for that new job, you can have that set up as a validation rule. What it allows you to do is make sure that your database has the data that it actually needs to move opportunities and to move candidates and to move clients through your system through various stages. So take advantage of validation rules. They're something that is native to the system, and it will unlock new levels of data hygiene for you and your business. The number two mistake that I see most recruiters getting into when they start to consider Salesforce for their recruiting operation is they get bought into big all-in-one platforms that happen to be based around Salesforce instead of using add-ons for native Salesforce. Now, let me explain. On the application exchange for Salesforce, it's called their App Exchange, you have the ability to buy two different types of applications. You can buy what they call an OEM, which for demonstration purposes is an all-in-one package that happens to use the Salesforce technology as its basis. So what you're getting into is, let's say you're getting into a model home. You have a home that's built a certain way. You can't really change it. You're just buying that home. How it comes is how you're going to be able to use it for the remainder of your life. That's it. You don't truly get the ability to custom configure something or make this thing your own, have it reflect your unique business process. So what you can do instead is look for applications on the App Exchange that are ISV, independent software vendors, add-ons for native Salesforce features. So what that means is you get the best of Salesforce, you get that foundation, you get that amazing concrete pad, and then you have the ability to bring in custom configured things for your unique business process that aren't going to limit you in any possible way. So you instead are given multiple different blueprints that you can use to build your house on that Salesforce pad rather than having a custom model home that is absolutely built to one particular standard and that's all you're going to get. So all of these companies get themselves into tech debt immediately when they buy something new because they're using something that someone else has designed, thinking it's going to fit them, rather than getting to take advantage of the add-ons and everything that Salesforce has to offer. So if you're thinking about this in terms of what's out there, look at the difference between something like a Bullhorn for Salesforce or a Target Recruit and the Assemble applicant tracking system. It's heads and tails different in how they're implemented on Salesforce, and it gives you massive amount of opportunity if you're using something like the Assemble applicant tracking system. So check it out. It's assemble.com, ASYMBL.com, if you want to find out more about it. But it is a completely different way to develop on Salesforce, and it's the way of the future. Now, for the number one mistake I start seeing recruiting firms get into when they use Salesforce for their recruiting function, it's over customization. They try and do too much. When you start getting away from what the core functionality of Salesforce has been designed to do, you then hamstring yourself so that for the rest of the entirety of the time that Salesforce is developing on their platform, all these new amazing features like Agentforce and all the different reporting capabilities and everything else that they make available to you going forward, you don't get to take advantage of because you've over-customized your system. I've seen top recruiting firms in the world get themselves into this problem. And I've seen new recruiting firms that start out thinking, oh, I could do this all on my own, get themselves into trouble by making objects they didn't need to make, by making customizations to objects, by duplicating objects, things that they didn't need to do, that there's functionality built into Salesforce already to do. They just didn't know how to take advantage of it. And they get themselves into a super deep hole, leading to them feeling trapped as all of these new features come out that they can't really take advantage of them quickly and easily. So my number one piece of advice to you, if you are starting to explore Salesforce for your recruiting platform, is please do not over customize this thing. Use it as intended and use only native add-ons for your Salesforce environment to make sure you're not going to hamstring yourself and limit the abilities that you have for this amazing platform that is Salesforce. So with that, that is my top 5 biggest mistakes that I see recruiting firms get into. If you like this kind of content, there is plenty more at salesforceforrecruiters.com. You can also subscribe to wherever you're watching this right now because there will be plenty of content coming after this. I want to say thank you so much for making it this deep into the video. And to thank you, I want to answer your question. If you've got questions about using Salesforce for your recruiting firm, send them in to me at hello@bradowens.com. I'll be happy to answer them on an upcoming episode. And with that, I want to thank you again for spending this much time with me on Salesforce for Recruiters. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.